All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you might be. I think most of you guys are in the States, so States or Canada. So I think we're all probably coming off the morning or in the morning still. Everybody hear me okay? I get some thumbs up. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Does it sound good? Okay, cool. Got my fancy mic with me here, and I'm in this little like phone.
Now it's gone. Your sound gone.
Yeah, well,
Can anyone hear Will?
No, Will, your sound's gone if you can hear us.
Can you guys hear me now? Yeah. Okay. Let me try this again with my good mic. All right. Well, you guys, we could use the MacBook mic, which is still not bad, but I like this mic a lot better. Just for some reason, it doesn't want to work right now. Anywho, yeah, guys, we'll get into it here. We're gonna give everybody a minute to allow a few others to get in the call. We are getting into part 3 of this video series we've been doing over the last 3 weeks. So if you haven't gone back and watched the previous ones, definitely do, but you don't have to. I mean, each one of these is kind of in its own vacuum. It's its own topic. What we'll do is probably go for the first 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I've got some good stuff prepared for you guys to help educate you guys and give you guys information, teach you guys, give you guys motivation to go and do the things you need to do to grow your business. But there's definitely value in each of these calls. Each one of them has been really, really good. Last week's we got pretty deep on referral strategy. It wasn't even intended to be that, but that's just where the conversation went. We couldn't get off of that, which was okay. I was good with it. At the end of it, everybody was like, yeah, that was a really, really good call. So if you're looking for ways to bring more members in by way of a referral strategy, I would definitely go back and watch last week's call, because there's a solid like 30, 45 minutes in there where that's all we talked about. And everybody was sharing, ways that they've done it, different types of campaigns they've done with that. Because just to have a few people bringing members in because it's expected is not enough. That's not really a campaign. That's not really you doing revenue generating activities as a business owner. That's just you sitting back and hoping people bring people in. And hope is not a good way to build a business. Hope is cool and all, but it's not really like, you're not doing things intentionally. So that's a really good one. The referral strategy the week before. Last week was an extension of the week before, which was bringing more members in. That's one of the ways you can grow revenue, right? Common sense is if we bring more members in, we have more paying clients, we grow revenue, right? So that's what was we're going to get into the last couple of weeks. So I definitely go back and watch that if you guys haven't watched it. We'll go for the first 45 minutes or so, open it up for some Q&A, and the back half of this call in about an hour or so could just be open office hour Q&A about anything that you might have that you want to that you have in particular. Doesn't have to be related to what we are talking about in this call. Just be where you can ask questions and get help and get discussion. This is the best place to have discussion about those higher level and lower level things in your business. I've had a few gym owners ask me recently, like, hey, where should I ask this type of question in regards to, an operational strategy or a fulfillment strategy or a growth strategy. And it's always on this call, guys. This is your opportunity to, get on the line, ask a bunch of other gym owners and myself, hey, what would you guys do in this situation? And this is like, I can't think of a better way to get that question answered than to show up in a room, even though virtual, with a bunch of other people who do what you do at varying levels of the game, at varying levels of success, and in different places, to get a wide range of perspectives on it, right? Because one thing we know about gyms is they are definitely unique. There's some things that are unique, and there's some things that are not. I mean, as far as there's a lot of things that definitely like people think are unique, and they do it a certain way because they think their business is unique. They don't need to be, and it's costing them things. But then there are some things that like are unique. Like every space that a gym operates in is unique, and where you're going to put people, and how you're going to move people around, and how many people you can in the business is unique, right? So we understand that like what works for a 400 member gym is not going to work the same as what works for a 75 member gym. There's going to be some differences there in how we value and use our space, because there's someone has a 400 member gym, I would hope that they're probably doing it in a decent amount of space that can accommodate that number of people at a high level. Same if you're smaller too, right? So getting those perspectives though are really, really important. It's probably the best thing you can do for yourself as a business owner is to gather perspective from other business owners who are further down the path from you. That's really the value of this group. So, you guys being present here, and those of you guys that are here right now, awesome. My applause to you. Let's go ahead and dive in. I want to dive in today. Today I'm not in front of my whiteboard of truth and justice, so I'm going to use my virtual whiteboard of truth and justice, as I call it, and I'm going to screen share with you guys just because I'm working from a different office. Today I have my home office, which is pretty much a tiny house I built in my backyard. It's really cool. And I have my whiteboard there that the last few videos I've been doing in front of, and it was fun standing up in front of the whiteboard and doing it that way. Today I'm more like sitting and doing it in front of a computer. So I'm just trying it a different way to deliver the information to you guys in a different way. But as far as what you'll experience, it'll probably end up feeling the same in regards to getting the information you need. So let me screen share with you guys. And kind of just dive into this thing. Actually, you know what? I did this the last couple of weeks, and I want to do it again before we get into this. Let's share some wins. Let's have three of you guys share some wins, because I really like the way the last couple of weeks went, starting with some wins. A win. That's all I need. I just need like three of you guys to raise a hand and be like, hey, I had this go well for me last week. Who wants to step up and give something? Sean wants to. Sean, go for it, man.
Hey, so good morning, everybody. Hope you guys had a great weekend and having a good holiday season. So we're just wrapping up our first Ascend for Fit and Festive. We had about 54 people that are doing this challenge. So we're doing final weighouts, etc. this week. We've already had 2 people that are going to continue on Ascend. So we launched that campaign out yesterday and kind of started the groundwork for that, so that this week, obviously we can gain traction around that and continue to support our clients. In that we're going to launch New Year, New You, second week of January. We've always launched our January challenges, typically second or third week of January, just because, you get people get in there, get momentum, lose momentum. And it's just a great kickoff for them after they've kind of started to lose a little bit of steam. So there'll be about a month lull, or 3.5, 4 week lull between, actually exactly a month, 17th to 17th. And starting to get the information put together to launch that, and just feeling good about, like, obviously what that's creating as far as buzz within the community. It's been great for, some of the mini challenges, et cetera, we've done. We've definitely gotten some referral exposure, et cetera. I think we've had about 25 referrals so far, all of which are on 1 week or 2 week passes right now. So that stuff will be kind of coming to fruition. I put an offer out for them yesterday for those people to be able to continue. And so just feeling good about, obviously, the bits and pieces that we have in place so far. Excited to get our new website launched, so we can start to work on the back end of things and get some traction around the hits that we're getting to our website. I think we had talked about this before. We get anywhere between 8,500 and 10,000 hits a month, and we get like 2 or 3 leads a month from that. So it'll be nice to actually start to convert some of that stuff and put some stuff in place to automate it, etc. Excited to be on Benny's call on Wednesday to talk about automations of for bod squads, and just how we can continue to support that group of people through the transition and grow in the business. So
amazing, good stuff, Sean. Yeah, your website's actually top of mind. Actually, Joey, who you guys haven't met yet, he's here, and I'll introduce him in a second. He's our new staff member, who I'm really excited about. But literally before this call, we sat down. We were like, hey, what's the game plan for today? And I was like, oh, we got to get S3 Fit done. So it's top of mind, just so you know. we were excited to get it going. I'm sure with that traffic, that you should see a big uptick, because that's, I would say, probably right in the, that kind of traffic is probably right where most gyms have been in business are. And if you're seeing that kind of lead flow, then definitely your website's hindering. It's doing more talking people out of than talking into. Converting into leads. So you should see an uptick from that, which will be exciting. Obviously, it's December, so you'll really probably see it as the new year flips over. You'll see some now too, but definitely as the new year flips over, you'll see an increase as the traffic starts to pick up with the new year and all that good stuff. So awesome, good stuff, Sean. Good positive momentum. I appreciate you always stepping up and leading the charge whenever I ask people to share. You're one of the first guys to be like, yeah, here's what I got going on. You're always having wins, man. So good stuff. Who else has got something? Who else wants to raise their hand and share a win from the last week? Mike Morganti's got his hand. So Mike, there he is.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. What's up?
People, that's amazing in his nutrition.
Yeah.
That's great. We just announced a CrossFit competition that we're holding on February 5th. And we already got 3 other Staten Island gyms. I mean, this thing was all the buzz going around Staten Island for the past 2 weeks before we announced it. And we're close to selling out, and we haven't even opened up open registration. We're starting with our members first. So that's going to be a huge thing for our gym. So we're excited about that. And we're finishing up our 40-day row challenge. So we have about 6 people that have completed it already. And I got some t-shirts made. I got the unicorn in the back, and it says 100K Club. So we're excited about that. We're having our Christmas party on Saturday. So all good things. I don't know if it's happened to anybody that's done this road challenge. What do you do now if people have gotten close to it, but still haven't gotten to 100K? I ordered shirts already for everybody. So now I have
bust, bro.
I have like 40 to 50 shirts. I mean, I could always use them next year.
Use them next year.
Yeah.
Don't give them out.
They got to earn them.
We got to earn it. All right. My partner's like, just give it to them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Hey, they still got good horseshoes.
Yeah.
They still got a few days, man. They could put in some big days on that rower. And
yeah. We had one guy did it in 2 days. He did 50K each day.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
A perfect example, right? Be like, hey, this guy did it. Where you guys at? Let's go get your shirt.
He had a whole table set up next to him with candy and coffee.
That's huge. That's double marathon length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, yeah, good positive momentum, man. Again, good vibes from you coming that I can see from here, man. I last week when you shared, same thing. You can tell a switch up in energy. Some of you guys met Mike at the last event and even probably talked to him about what he was going through with his business. I'm sure you guys could all see it too. Definitely a positive switch over, which is awesome. Not that you weren't positive before, but there was obviously some.
I was struggling with things.
Indecision. There's some indecision there that was, bringing your energy down for sure. And I could see it's totally different now, man. So, good shit, man. I'm super proud. But yeah, of course, man. Good job. Finish that thing out strong and bring this new year in hot. And great job on the competition, man. I'm excited to see how that goes for you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, Boz, what's up, dude?
What's happening? I got three quick ones. The first one over the last week in I guess it was more in the mastermind group. I think we kind of talked about it in the main group after last week's call, but just reviews. So 9 out of 10 people, when I ask them in an intro, like, how'd you find us? How'd you hear about us? They say, hey, I looked all over, you got the best reviews. I was at 107 and kind of had got super lazy on Google since I hit 100, but we kind of did a bunch of reviews. Some people in this group, and I'm going to make the post in the main group. I'll write anybody a review and I'll go first if you guys want to trade it out. But I think we got like 11 or 12 reviews out of 5-star reviews out of just the mastermind group. And then I made a post, which I also shared, just saying, hey, we'd appreciate it if you love the gym. Just here's a link to leave us a review. It helps us buy new equipment, throw this awesome party for this weekend, blah, blah, blah. I think I had 24, 25 people leave 5-star reviews in 24 hours. So I went from 107, I think I'm at 136 or 137. And I kind of set a goal this morning to get to 200. No one else in the area, even the other good gym has like 50, and I just want to be 200. So again, I'll make a post, but share me your link. I'll leave you a 5-star review. I'm willing to do the same for you as well. And I'll even go first. That's one. 2, we kind of got a let me back up. Part of my last month has been trying to give back a little bit more. I know that not doing it selfishly, but every successful person gives back. And we kind of got late with got started later than we would have liked with a toy drive. But we adopted, I think, 24, 25 kids as a gym and posted that we wanted to do it and take care of these kids during the holidays. It sold out. I say sold out. It filled up and we needed more kids in 12 hours. So I was really proud of my gym for that because they adopted all 25 kids and we had to go get more, for Christmas and whatnot. So I was really proud of the gym as far as that goes. And then kind of just a big win and a personal growth moment too. We had our Christmas party over the weekend. We stepped up the venue this year. We covered half the cost of the open bar for our members. We had over 100 people show up dressed to the nines, except one girl that works for me dressed up in a Frosty the Snowman outfit. And it was kind of like the hit of the party. It was pretty awesome. And so I just kind of stepped back and was able to watch all these people dressed up, bringing their people, having an amazing time. And it was super satisfying for me. But also in the past, before I started this, I was always it has to be my way or the highway. I had to be the one in charge to do things. And really what I've learned is, let go and elevate and invest in your team. And a couple of our members came to me and wanted to do superlatives for the gym just because they thought it'd be fun. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And I'm, I don't have time. I don't want blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what, you guys do it, take care of it. And they posted the link. They came up with a thing. They took the votes. They made things, and kind of at our party at an hour and a half into an open bar, they pulled everyone. And I've never heard people cheer this loud and hoot and holler. It was a really amazing moment that I had nothing to do with, and I just kind of took my hands off and gave it to them. And my staff and some of my members took care of it. And I was like, this is what it's about. Let other people do it. They're good, right? So that was a personal growth moment and a win for me, just in general, watching everyone and seeing them take that. And it's what else can I empower the people with? So those are my three for today.
Fantastic, man. Those are strong. And I know you've been to both the live events too. And I know you I think, the live events, we had some of that stuff go that way, right? You got to be part of it earlier in the year when you came to the one back in April, May. I remember you saying this is one of the coolest things I've ever been to. And then, so it's super cool to see you out. I know that inspired a lot of you guys that are in the mastermind to go and do similar things. I've seen it. You guys are all doing bigger things with your communities. It's something clicked. So it's really, really cool to see and inspiring. And it's I don't know, it's that's kind of what we aim to do at that event, which, by the way, guys, we're gonna if you guys are in the mastermind, you guys will get your if you guys have to buy your ticket for the next event in April, May, I'm going to get that out this week. And then you guys that want to come to the next one in May, April, it's going to be here in Scottsdale, Arizona. You guys should come to it. Not because it's about me trying to sell you anything. Honestly, we break even on the event. Seriously, last event, I think we sold about $40,000 worth of tickets for the event for all the gym owners that came, and it cost us $46,000. We'll probably spend more with every event. So it's not something, and I say that and share that with you guys because it's we don't make our money on this stuff. So but come to it because you're going to get to experience what I do for you guys. And maybe Boz, maybe you could speak to this because I know you're someone who shared to me that you've had some breakthroughs by coming to the live events, what it's like and how it kind of reshaped your view of how you take care of your community. I don't know. Are you comfortable speaking on that at all?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't mind at all. It's two highlights of my year, really, going and being in person. It's kind of tough to, you're in your community and you want to be a leader. So, obviously you can't be everybody's best friend. You can't, even your members, you're not always on the 100% same page with, but the people in the group that ended up going there, they're all growth minded. They're all ready to grow and want to learn. And there's not really that much ego going on there. It's all people that genuinely want to see you succeed. And they say the best sellers are the best buyers. If you're not going to do that for yourself, it's going to be hard to ask somebody else to spend a lot of money with you or to spend money with the people. So it's not hard. You just replicate what they do in here. I mean, Will took us to, badass steakhouse in a party bus. He took us to Top Golf in a party bus. Like, they just really, like, you get wined and dined and you have a great experience with nothing really expected in return other than being open and sharing, and kind of come back and take that to your people. I have the same staff I have now, and they perform 5X they did a year ago, because I've been able to, like, I've seen someone in a group pour into me, and I've been able to take that and share it. And I would say pretty kind of close-minded off towards some of the things before, and like, having experienced it, it's a lot easier to go and do it, right? Like, you get kind of stuck in your rut at home, think, oh, maybe I'll cheap out this way, maybe I won't do this, maybe I won't do that, and then you go and you're like, man, that experience was like really fucking awesome that I did. How can I do that for the people, in my life? And you do that, and they just show you the return. And that's not why you do it. Like, I kind of sat back and just absorbed it, and I was like, this is way better than being this is way better than being there, like at the bar in the group that I'm watching. I'd rather be back here. But you can only be like that guy for so long. You have to have a support system too, right? And that's what this group is to me. So you pour out, but you have to have a bigger support system. Zoom is great, online is great, but I won't miss one. No way.
Yeah, they're going to keep getting bigger too. I mean, every one of them, we keep, thinking of bigger and better things we can do for you guys at these events. I like to go over the top. I've just been to so many cool things in the, in my entrepreneurial development. Like, I've had, there's a lot of like trash stuff out there in the business world, but I've been fortunate enough to get in on a couple things that were like, I did not expect. I had, just blew me away value wise what I got to experience. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do for the people. That's what I want to do for the people that support my business. Right. So when you guys come out, it's like, I try to think, how can I give, if you guys spend $1,000 on a ticket to come to the event and fly out and get a hotel room and be present and, pay coaches to make sure your time is covered so you guys can be out here. It's like, no, like, we're going to, they're probably spending a couple $1,000 to come to this thing. We're going to make sure they have a $10,000 experience. You know what I mean? It's going to be a $10,000 experience. And yeah, you're 100% right, Boz. It's like, yeah, not necessarily needing to be in the thick of it. My goal is to curate in those experiences. Like, I'm the curator. It's not about me. So, yeah, it's awesome. Good stuff, man. I'm really, really pumped. I'm pumped for the next one too. Just even talking about it gets it going. It's cool seeing how you guys take and do some of that same stuff with your clientele and gather ideas from it. If anything, it's like you get an experience for yourself, like pulls back the veil on like what you think you can do for other people. Cause you're like, oh, I just did it with Will at this event. He did these creative, clever things to, pull us together and strengthen the community. And there are, you guys are in the mastermind, been a lot of events, have forged friendships out of it, which is really, really cool to see. And it's like, that was my goal, was just to create an environment where people can bond and have that. And it's like, well, quite literally what we do at our gyms. I mean, I didn't learn that anywhere else than from when I ran my gym. We ran a really successful gym because that's what we did with our people. As we put on, it wasn't just about the hour we worked out in the class. That was the minimum ask for participation in our gyms. Like, we were always doing events. We were always doing fun stuff. We were always going over the top. We were always, whatever we can do, and those are things that other gyms in town cannot and will not replicate because they have limiting beliefs. They have limiting beliefs about like what a gym membership is, or what a CrossFit gym or a group fitness gym or a functional fitness gym or a kickboxing gym, what that membership entails. And it's like, well, I don't really give that much of a shit about fitness, if I'm honest. Fitness is important, but people can get fit anywhere. People can get fit at home. They can get fit walking up a mountain. They can get fit climbing a bike. They can get fit going into the global gym. They can get fit anywhere. The difference maker that's really, really hard to replicate in a really, really good community-based gym is the way you do community. And that's even a cliche term, because even people mail it in on a community too. Like, oh, we work out together. Good for you. So does every other CrossFit gym. How do you take it over and above? That's the difference makers. And how do you make sure someone has an experience that's like, they were not expecting that, right? Because that's what they'll tell their friends about. That's how you engineer it. So good stuff. I appreciate it, guys. You guys sharing your wins. And good job. You guys are crushing it. The energy is good, positive. I think we're moving into the new year. Some really, really good stuff. So let's dive into today's stuff and what we're going to get into. I'm going to go back to the screen share. We're going to talk about increasing the price they pay, because that's the gym revenue growth series. That's the phase we're in. Just a quick review. If we go into it here, and I'll just do a present here so I can do full screen. This is a review of what this series is about. For you guys that have missed it, have not been here so far. Plus, it's just good to rehash on this stuff. You guys can see my screen okay, right? Thumbs up from some of you guys. Yeah, everything look good. Okay, cool. So there's 4 ways to increase revenue. There's no magical 5th way, and these 4 ways are available to you as a business owner as a way to grow your business's revenue. And it's the same for like every business. Really, it's number 1 is increase the number of paying members you have. So just increasing the number of customers you have, right? Obvious one. That's where most people tend to go. You can increase the price they pay. So the clients you have, the recurring members you have, you can increase the price they pay. You can, number 3, increase the number of items on the average ticket. So a ticket is each transaction with them. You can increase the number of items on that transaction. And then you can increase the number of tickets. So you increase the number of transactions. So that's, 4 different ways there you can grow your business. And this week we are getting into the second one, which is increase the price they pay. The last 2 weeks were about this: increase the number of paying members you have, with 2 weeks ago having been about traffic and different ways to grow traffic between borrowing it, owning it, or buying it, right? So you can, with getting traffic into your business, you can buy the traffic, right? You can give Facebook or Google money and they'll send traffic your way. That's all running ads is. People have some inflated view of what ads are, and what paying for ad space is. It's no different than that, right? It's just you're just buying traffic, and traffic's coming your way. Naturally, when you buy traffic and you force it over to you, it's not going to be as good as traffic that comes to you organically or traffic that you own, right? It's just knowing the differences in those things. Traffic you own is traffic, like, say in the past you've run ads, say you've been open in business for a while, you've gotten some referrals, you've gotten some leads, but they all haven't converted, but you own those contacts. That's, you have a list, right? You have a list of emails and phone numbers. That's traffic you own. You can activate that list whenever you want. You should be nurturing the list. You should be doing something with that. It's also like you're following on social media. Now, given social media is you kind of are borrowing it and kind of own it, because really it's Facebook that owns it because it's on their platform. But if it's your business page on their platform, then you're kind of sharing ownership, right? You did the work to get that ownership, but really Facebook can take it away from you any minute. If they decide to shut down your profile, if they decide, like they did years ago, that there was a time when Facebook business pages used to get a lot of traffic, and then they decided, like, oh, if you're not going to pay us, we're not going to show it to anybody, right? So, like, yeah, you have that, but you have to do something with it. Or you're knowing the platform well enough to know, how can I best own the traffic or borrow this traffic within this at the lowest cost and the highest rate of engagement. Facebook groups, for example, are way more effective than a Facebook page. You should have a Facebook page, but you should be trying to get people into a group and nurture those leads that way, because people will actually see stuff in a group, for example. Those are just examples, right? You can also borrow traffic from other people. You can strategically partner with other businesses and say, hey, you have a list of people, of clients or leads, another complementary business like a juice bar, or another type of fitness studio that's maybe not a competitor but complementary, maybe a recovery studio, maybe something like that, other businesses that serve the same types of clients as you do, getting with them and saying, like, hey, I'd like to, do a list trade. I have a list of 5,000 old leads of people that have showed interest in working out at my gym. You have a list of X, can we do a trade? I'll do a blast for you, do a blast for me, for example, or, finding other unique ways to share each other's lists and get in front of each other's traffic. Those are strategic partnerships. Those are things you can do in business. Those are all really good ways of getting traffic, right? And then last week we talked about the referral stuff, another good way to get traffic and get people in your door, right? So go back and watch those videos, because I'm not going to go super deep on those here. Those are part of, we expanded between those 2 videos probably 3-4 hours on just increasing the number of paying members you have in your gym. So you'll give those a watch, okay? Then today, again, increase the price they pay. And then in the future videos, next week, we're going to get into increase the number of items on the average ticket. We'll probably actually combine these last two. Last two of increasing the number of items on a ticket and the number of tickets. We'll probably batch those two together, just because they're kind of in the same vein. And with the gym, at least, it could be arguable as to which one you're actually talking about sometimes. The number of items on a ticket and the number of tickets, okay? So this video here, obviously, we're talking about the increasing the price they pay. And I want to talk about the different ways you can do that. So number 1 is you can increase the rate on existing members. And then you can also offer bigger ticket items, upsells, higher tier memberships to members. That's another way you can increase the rate they pay. You could also, instead of increasing the rate on existing members or upselling stuff to existing members, you can also increase the rate on incoming members, right? Now, really, all three of these things should be getting done. This is not an either or thing. This is a, how are we going to do each of these things? Because whether you like it or not, the dollar gets worth less every year. So you cannot ask the same number of dollars this year as you did 3 years ago. That does not make sense. That's not good business. That's not good investing. That's not good really for anything that requires cash to survive, which is what a business is. It requires cash to survive. If you're running a charity, then sure, then you could probably, not increase rates. But from what I gather, all you guys run businesses and you guys all have overheads and you all have to make a profit because you're putting your time into this thing. You're putting your time into this thing and you don't get your time back. And I imagine you started this because you wanted to make some money doing it. And hopefully you're not kidding yourself on that, because a lot of gym owners do. They kid themselves and thinking about this as if it's a noble experiment they decided to do because they really love fitness. It's like, well, no, somewhere along the line, you had the decision to do this and start a business. So let's treat it that way, right? All three, you need to have increase your rate on existing members, which is the easiest. I know it sounds and feels hard, but it's actually the easiest. Number two, offer bigger ticket items, upsells higher tier membership. Not quite as easy, because you got to go and create the value adds and go and sell them to the members, right? You got to create and find ways to justify that value and express it. It's not hard though. I mean, some of you guys that have done, Ascend, like with Aaron's Bod Squad stuff, and have run a Bod Squad challenge and use that to upsell people into Ascend, have seen that in action with offering bigger ticket items, right? Or packaging up just more expensive things, right? Bundling things, right? Like if you guys do, some of you guys sell personal training. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but some the gyms that sell personal training will sell personal training packages in the multiple thousands of dollars range. And clients will use that up in just a couple months' time, right? So that's another way to boost it up there. And then number three, increase the rate on incoming members, right? If you're not going to adjust the rate on existing members, which you should over time, it should be part of your roadmap. You can increase the rate on incoming members going forward, right? So those are the three ways that you can increase the price that they pay. And if there's another way that you guys are thinking, you guys have increased the way the price they pay, then feel free, to add in here towards the end. We go to do some Q&A. Now, reasons to do it, reasons to increase the price a client pays. You're underpriced according to your calculations, right? You've actually done the math, which again, this is business and business is a numbers game. So you shouldn't just go based on like, well, I think I'm underpriced, so I'm going to raise my price, or I think my price is good, so I'm going to leave it, right? Or, sitting down and using the tools available to you to calculate what your price actually should be, right? Which if you guys have used the training portal, I can really quickly go out of here and go into the training portal and show you here, training portal, portal.biglittlegyms.com. There we go. There's a calculator in here that will literally do all this for you. It's probably one of the more valuable things in the whole training portal is using this calculator. We go back in there, takes me to the back end when I sign in because I'm an admin. So if you go here, launch time, I go to right here under the war map and planning your attack. There's the annual financial projection war map and the pricing your membership calculator. Both of these, you guys should have filled out and should be, you should have been able to make some conclusions from. This one here, the pricing calculator, once it loads here, I mean, it literally asks you almost every detail of your business. What do you want to make? Okay, if I want to make $100,000 a year running my gym, that's 8,334 per month. My recurring members, say I want to have 150 recurring members. My target profit margin, it has a description, it tells you what each one is. After I pay myself, I want the gym to keep 10% for itself. I got to cover 37 classes per week by a paid coach. And my average trainer wage is $22 per class on average, right? Again, these are averages. It's not a hard science, but it should be pretty close. If you have one coach that's paid $22 a class, one that's paid $20, then it averages up to $22.50. So you put $22.50 in there, or just base it off the high one. That's usually what I do. When I usually do these calculations, I base them off the conservative numbers, the higher numbers, right? So like I'll purposely pick the more inflated numbers because I want to be profitable even on my worst day, right? So rent, utilities, insurance costs, subscriptions and software, operator, manager, head coach. And this is again based off of what you want, not what you currently have. Because if you base your pricing off what you currently have, then you'll make the same mistake you made in the past when you started the gym, which we did some math on this in one of the earlier videos, where it's like we sat down and we're like, okay, rent's $3,000. I have $1,000 a month for utilities and subscriptions and things like that. And then I'm going to coach all the classes. So my overhead's only whatever, $4,000 a month. That means if I can get 100 members at $100 a month, I'm going to make 6K, right? Wrong. Because as soon as you go to scale the business and you after 2 or 3 years, you don't want to coach anymore, and you want to hire an admin and do all these things, you don't have room in your budget because you've underpriced yourself, right? So you have to build in those costs, right, into this. You know, it's what a real business plan actually does. It's not just about a mission statement and how we're going to get passionate about this thing. It's about like, what are the hard numbers and how is this business actually going to scale, right? Building in something like advertising costs. So when we have down months and referrals are down and organic traffic is down, we can spend $1,000 on ads and the money is there, right? And if we didn't spend it, then it sits there and waits for us to spend, right? Because if you can't get traffic organically from by way of what you own, then you go and you buy it, right? That's how it works in business. That's how you move the money around. If I'm not getting traffic this month because my organic methods that I have are not working, and if I've already saturated maybe where I can borrow traffic from, then I go and buy the traffic. I go and take the money in my pocket and I say, hey, I need traffic because this business needs traffic, right? That's what we do. And debt repayments, incidentals, repairs, you put all that stuff in here and, you figure out what your actual it'll tell you what your overheads are. It'll tell you based on all your numbers to pay yourself, keep that 10% profit margin, pay everybody else, pay all these bills. It'll tell you that your target recurring member ACV, for example, with this one here, it's $200. You need to be at $200 ACV. That's actual cash value month over month. And that's on a business with, all the numbers that are in here, I'd say are probably pretty reasonable based on like most gyms, $4,000 a month mortgage, rent or mortgage, $100,000 a year need for salary. Say I only want to make, I don't know, 60K a year. What's that? $5,000 a month. With all these other overheads, with the entire business paid for, and I think all these numbers are pretty realistic in here. I got to be at $174 a month. Most gyms are not at $174 a month. So how on earth are you going to pay yourself, keep an income, pay other coaches, have an advertising budget, and pay all the bills if you're $135 a month? I can't think of many gyms that can do it, unless you yourself are paying everybody or your costs are just rock bottom low. If they are, that's awesome, but it's not. That's an exception, not probably the normal use case. So it's looking at the hard numbers and knowing where you actually have to be, so you can scale the business, right? That's what it's about. And so that's goes to number one. You're underpriced according to your calculations. If your calculations say you got to be $174 a month average ACV, and you're at 135, then you got to do something about that. And then number two, you're underpriced according to your market. So you might look at your market. Maybe you are priced right according to your calculations, but everybody else, say your calculations say you only need to be at $155 a month, but everybody else in your market charges $200. You're in a good position. That's a good position to be in, right? If you you can go up in price, it's actually the most valuable businesses in the stock market. Are what over the long term are what are called value stocks, which are generally businesses that are underpriced, right? Like value stocks are generally stocks where the products that they sell are underpriced according to their market, right? Like Apple, for example, amazing business because like Apple products, I think as an Apple consumer and as an objective business person, when I look at what they charge for what they sell, I'm like, they can charge way more for this. Like I just got the new MacBook and I'm like, this thing, why don't they charge $1,000 more for this? I don't understand. Like the value is incredible for what they give. Tesla, another good company. That's why their stock is, the price to earnings ratio on their stock is so crazy high, is because like we have a Model Y and I'm like, this car should be $30,000 more. I don't know why they only charge 50K for this car. This is a way better car than any BMW I've driven, any Lexus I've driven, any other thing I've driven. And like they're underpriced according to their market, right? You're in a good position if that's where you're at, right? And you can afford to go up in price because it means you can take profit whenever you want, right? So that's another good reason to do it. You're underpriced to your provided value, right? Like outside of calculations and market. Third is if you're like, okay, cool, we're priced right according to market, priced right according to calculations, but we also just give way more. Like Boz, perfect example earlier. He's going above and beyond with value. He's so far off of the fitness experience and the value that he provides. I'm sure the fitness experience at his gym is great, but that's not what he talked about when he talked about how he's providing value to his members. He's talking about blowing their minds with experience and the things that they do above and beyond the gym and all these things. And the value he provides his customers and the relationships he helps build by curating amazing experience is something you can charge for, right? And that's, if you ever ask, like, if there was a money motivated reason for me to run an amazing curated community experience, and if there is for Voz, it's because in the back of my head, there's just this thought that, like, I don't do it because of it. I just know, I'm just confident that if I do this, like, my clients will take care of me. And I don't have to say it, I don't have to make the expectation. I put the value out first because I know it will be reciprocated, right? Like, and it always does. It always is. So you go and you provide maximal value and differentiate yourself, and then eventually you raise your price because you can ask for it, right? Number 4, you have to adjust for increased business costs or overheads or rise in the cost of doing business. This is something that's relative to everybody, which I'll show you guys in a minute. If none of these other reasons were motivations to raise your prices, I'll show you in a minute why you probably still need to. And then number 5 is you simply need to increase revenue because you aren't bringing in enough cash, right? If you're doing everything right, if you're doing everything else right, but you're still not making enough cash, then you need to raise your prices, regardless of what the market says, or regardless of what the calculation says. Prices need to go up, right? I mean, really though, if you are calculating properly, then it should, you shouldn't have cash flow issues because the calculations take into account your cash flow, right? So now a lot of these kind of speak for themselves, and I just went in on, but I want to talk about one that's really relative to everybody, and that's inflation, because that's something that is like very of the moment. And the number one reason is, to raise your prices, if no other reason, if you're, is because you have to protect the value of your money, right? This is an article from Investopedia by a guy named Evan Tarver. What impact does inflation have on the dollar value today? And I'll read it real quick. The impact of inflation has on the time value of money, that it decreases the value of dollar over time. The time value of money is a concept that describes how money, let me just minimize this out of the way here on the side. The time value of money is a concept that describes how the money available to you today is worth more than the same amount of money at a future date, right? So basically just saying your dollar is just going to get worth less as longer it sits there. Same if your prices are just going to get worth less the longer they stay the same, right? Like, so $135 a month today is not the same as $135 a month in 2 years. This also assumes that you do not invest the money available to you today in an equity security, a debt instrument, interest-bearing bank account. Essentially, if you have $1 in your pocket today, that dollar's worth or value will be lower 1 year from today if you keep it in your pocket. Inflation decreases the price of goods and services over time, effectively decreasing the number of goods and services you can buy with the same dollar in the future as opposed to the dollar today. If wages remain the same, but inflation causes the price of goods and services to increase, it will take a larger percentage of your income to purchase the same good or service in the future. And then here's a chart, and I actually didn't use their chart. I pulled a different chart up, which I thought was even more valid. And that's a chart from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics of inflation just in 2021 alone. We started the year with inflation actually being really, really low. We were 1.4 averaging per month percent. Historic rate of inflation has been somewhere between 3 and 4% over the last 100 years. We're at like 6.8% as of November last month. Insane rates of deflation, almost double the inflationary rate historically this last month, right? And I'm not an economist, and I know where you guys aren't bankers, but this impacts you. This impacts what you pay. Wages go up, the expectations that people, and it's not because the government says wages need to go up, right? People get into these tiffs about politics and wages. It's like, no, wages need to go up because if the dollar inflates, people buy less with their money, and like people are going to demand because they can't pay their bills because rent's going to go up $100 a month every year to adjust for this. It's trickle down economics, right? That's what it is. It's not a political thing that raising wages is, whether you're for or against whatever. It's that that actually has to happen as long as things inflate, right? Now, how we get to inflation is a different conversation, and that definitely has to do with who's controlling things. But there's definitely one thing we know right now is there's more cash being pumped into the economy than ever. And that's what's causing inflation, right? And that's not going to change for a little while. So at the end of the day, you can bitch and complain all you want, or you can do the right thing in your business and make the adjustment according to it, especially since This is something everybody, every one of your clients, every one of your customers, every one of your members knows about. This is not foreign to anybody right now. Everybody knows things are more expensive. Everybody knows their dollar's worth less. So you saying, hey, we need to adjust for this as a business is completely understandable, right? Raising prices and asking people to pay more for something all has to do with justification, right? If it were 2011, 2012, 2013, we were almost more deflationary. And it was a harder time. People were coming out of the recession. A lot of young millennials hadn't really entered their careers yet. They were coming out of college, or maybe still in college or whatever. That was who a lot of clients and people that are clients of your gym at the time probably were. Raising prices back then would have been like not justifiable, but it is totally justifiable now because everybody knows you're paying more to do your business, right? So now here's the worry with raising prices. This is the thoughts that go on in all your heads. I know it because I have dealt with it myself. And we all have these thoughts when we think about raising prices, and it's what keeps a lot of you guys from actually going and doing it. Like you'll say whatever you want to say to me and everybody else here. When you say, well, you don't want to raise prices, you'll have some justifiable, smart, logical sounding reason, but really it's usually emotional. Usually, you don't want to do it because it's some sort of validation that you're fighting with and you worry about, you're scary. It's scary because you might lose members, right? You might lose a few people. You have this imposter syndrome going on of I'm not worth it, or I will have to be taken seriously now, right? If you're the cheapest gym in town, you don't, there might be a party that's like, oh, I'm not charging as much as the big dogs over there. So I don't have to be an A player, right? Like there's a self-worth thing going on there. Right. And by contending with this thought of raising your prices, like, man, I got to be taken seriously now. Like I have to actually set expectations for myself now. I actually have to go above and beyond for my clients. It's not just let's open the gym and work out for an hour and go home. It's like, no, we have to do more important things on a daily basis and stay more organized and really deliver for our clients on a consistent basis, right? That's a real thing. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. We all fight with it. Number 3, now you're having to prove you're worth it all over again. If you raise your prices, now you gotta justify it by going into action, right? Like if I raise my prices, I say I'm going to do these things, I better go do them, or I'm really going to piss some people off, right? But I don't know. I don't see what's wrong with that. I don't see what's wrong with raising your prices and then putting that. I personally, sometimes I do that to myself. I will purposely set a new expectation for myself and my clients to put downward pressure on myself to do the hard thing so I can level up as a business owner, because I know if I just do it at my own comfort, then I'm not going to work as hard. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to feel that stress that I need to go and like be better. Right. And number 4, probably the biggest one of them all is rejection. Like we all are worried about rejection. What if they think I'm not worth it and they're only been here because of the low prices, right? There's like legit that thought of like, what if these people don't think I'm worth it? Like, what if they just been here, like, paying me because they feel sorry for me or they like me as a person? Maybe they don't think I'm the best fitness provider, but like I'm a cool person and I run a good community and I give good high fives, but the prices are fair, so they stay, right? Like there's that thought that I think is very real. I see some raised hands here, so I'm going to pause. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so quick question. We did a price increase when we first reopened for all of our new members coming in. So we went from $119 to $179 for unlimited. Wasn't for most, we were shut down 18 months out of 24 months where we couldn't operate. And most of our members continue to pay their full dues during the bulk of shutdown, et cetera. I mean, we loaned out of all of our equipment. We went virtual right away. I mean, we did like all the things you're saying. We increased value. We did whatever we could to stay relevant for people, et cetera. And, when we first opened, I had, people that got pre-sale rates. I have a handful of people that are still paying $79, some that are paying $99, and some that are paying $119. And my thought was to do like a $20 increase for those people starting in January. Has anybody done this with like existing member? And again, it's my own story in my own head, and most of those people probably aren't going to care. But because they stuck with us during that whole time and like kept us afloat, that's my fear. And like, hey, like they did what was right for us. What should we do for them? So has anybody kind of worked through that themselves? What's your feedback on that? How would you approach it? Do you think
I did that.
$20 is fair to those existing people, that type of thing?
I did that last year.
So I think a lot of it, so I haven't raised my prices yet. I intentionally started higher than anybody else around here, like in my area. We're about 3.5 years into it. But I've been, actively thinking about this recently. And I think a lot of it has to do with obviously come up with a figure that makes sense and that you can justify. So you have to there's a rhyme to reason, which I think Will just went over a lot of that, right? So based on all those bullet points, it should help us kind of hone in how much we should raise it and what our prices should be. But really, I think it all comes down to the messaging. How do you relate this to your members? It's not like, bro, man, you guys have been getting a bargain all along and it's time to, it's time to fix that shit. Now I'm raising the prices. That's probably not the best messaging. Right. So message it your way. And my other thing, and of course we all grapple with this, right? And I guess one thing that always sits in the back of my mind that helps to validate what we charge is that, we all went into this business wanting to do good, whether we also wanted to make money or not. Like Will was saying, is regardless, we all wanted to do good, right? A gym that closes down doesn't do anybody any good, right? So if you can't survive based on your price, or your private life, your home life is suffering because you're not making, money, whatever the heck it is, you're not doing anybody any good. This was also the same messaging I gave to my landlord when I asked for reduction in price. I'm like, if I go out of business, you and I both suffer, and good luck trying to find a tenant in the middle of a freaking pandemic. And he was more than happy to help out,
So I did this last year, and I'll just tell you kind of how it went with me, and it worked out pretty well for me. And I don't know that our situations are exactly analogous, but my gym I bought from some previous people. So it was an existing gym when I bought it. It was run. The people who owned it before me were part-timers. It was, it wasn't their full-time job. So it wasn't even really I wouldn't even really say it was a professionally run CrossFit gym. And so what I did was, and when I took the place over, the books were all messed up, and there were people paying 8 million different memberships. It was really evident to me as soon as I took it over that these people had, if somebody showed up and was willing to give them some money, they created a membership for them. So anyway, there were a bunch of people, and they were paying way below market rates, even if I just consider market rates, not even considering what I want to charge. So what I did was I didn't raise rates on everybody right away. What I did was I kept what everybody was paying when I bought this gym. They stayed the same. And I think I kept them at the same rate for almost a year, for six to 8 months. Cause I bought the place in June. And then I left everybody on their old rates that they were on when I took over until January. But what I did was, starting on day one, anybody brand new started paying the new rate, the appropriate rate. So for 6 months, I had a bunch of people, the people who who came with the gym, basically, they were paying their old rates because I didn't want to raise prices on them on day one. I didn't think that was going to be right. But then I also had a group of people who joined after I bought the gym who were all paying the new rates. So I let it be like that for a while. And then I knew that I was going to bring everybody up to the same level on January 1st of the new year. So what I did was I sent out an email to my current members in September or October, because I wanted to give them months of warning. I didn't want to do the thing where on December 15th, I sent out an email and said, your prices are going up. So I gave people 3, and I don't know if this is the right way to do it. This is just what I did. I gave people a bunch of warning. And in the email, I remember what I said was, my personal opinion is I didn't really go overboard in a bunch of explanation. I didn't feel like I'm not going to send a really long email trying to justify myself. Like when Netflix raises my prices, they don't tell me, they just send me a 2-sentence email and it says, to account for the cost of doing business, your prices are now $12 a month or whatever. So, I sent out an email and it was super polite. I just said, listen, effective January 1st, everybody who is an existing member of the gym, everybody's rates will be leveling up at $130 a month, I think it was at the time. And I did note that this is the price that everybody who's joined the gym since June has been paying. I didn't lose a single person. I take that back. I lost one person, and the person that I did lose was getting the price that they were paying was ridiculous. And, you know, the thing that I learned from it was, so just being like upfront with people. Now, I will say this, and somebody said this, and I think this is totally right. I think there's, and my perception of this might be wrong, but there is a little bit of this belief amongst some CrossFitters, like or gym owners, when they're trying to tell you how to price your membership, there's this like pie in the sky, like charge whatever you want. You have to believe you're worth it and all this stuff. But there is also market economics involved. And like, if I'm charging $500 of group a class for a group membership, or $500 a month for a group membership, and the next closest person to me where I live is $130 a month, I mean, it doesn't matter how great my gym is, nobody's going to pay that. So there is some reality involved, in my opinion. But, you know, I just decided for me, I have a little bit smaller of a gym, and I'm willing to charge a little bit more. And I routinely say to people now, listen, I understand this is expensive. If this is too much for you, I'm happy to send you somewhere else. The classes will be bigger. You won't get the attention you get here, but there is CrossFit available for you at a different price point. But anyway, to answer your question, I mean, honestly, man, I just did it. And people said this to me at the time before I did it, because I was nervous about doing it. And everybody said to me, don't worry, people will understand. The people you lose will be people that you don't care that left. And that's exactly what happened. There was not a big mass exodus. So that was just my experience.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's generally now seen probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 dozen gym owners in the last just couple of years doing this, raise their prices. No one ever reports back their worst nightmare coming true, like this max. It's almost like what Edward just explained, that like, oh, we had like 1 or 2 people, and they were honestly people that were either off base with the community, weren't good fits, they were looking for a reason out, we gave it to them, or they were paying some ridiculous rate like $50 a month or something like that. You know what I mean? Like something so ridiculous that like it was cost prohibitive because that's what they had worked into their budget. And that's fine, right? Those 1 or 2% use cases are going to happen. But you know, and that's the reason why I talk about the worry with you guys, is because I just want to get that out on the table. If that's what's going on in your head, that there's like going to be this big justification that has to go on, and it's like, no, not really. In fact, like it's based on, like I said, you know, essentially calculation, market economics, the value you provide. And you know, it's all pretty straightforward. I think most people understand, especially now more than ever. But let's real quick, just to kind of, you guys got right into kind of where I was going next, which is I want to show you guys just kind of, it's kind of more or less backing up what Edward said, and kind of the way to do it, which is, you know, how do we do this? How do we how do we increase prices on membership? How do we actually go and physically take the steps? So make the price increase reasonable, right? Like be incremental on big jumps. If you're going to go from something like $100 a month to $200 a month, that's obviously going to have way more of a shock to the system than going from $100 a month to $125 a month. You know, you're jumping a bigger jump. So maybe you want to be incremental about that. And when you let your clients know that, hey, we're going to be making a big jump over the next year, maybe you have that done in phases. Hey, and you know, it's effective February 1st, we're going to go up $20 a month. And then we're going to go up again in August of 2022, another $20 a month, because that, you know, has to happen. We want to make it so it's tolerable for you guys as a client base, as our members. We don't want to, you know, jump up all at once, because, you know, obviously, because we're not trying to shock the system. Number 2, give them advance notice, probably 60 to 90 days, not next month, right? If you're, you know, if you're 1 week out from next month's dues running, you know, if you run them all on the same day each month, you probably, you know, that's going to piss people off, right? Because a lot of people have a budget and they know this much is coming out. If you give them the opportunity to adjust their budget accordingly, hey, I, you know, need to figure out, you know, if they really are that tight on cash and it's that important that they stay at your gym, it's going to be harder for them to want to justify staying if you don't take into account that they have a budget, right? So, you know, give them a notice, right? Say, hey, it's not this month. I know, you know, we're going to be two months from now, we're going to adjust payment and it's going to go up. And here's how much, you know, and give them that notice, right? Like that'll also, it can come off as inconsiderate if you were to raise prices on short-term notice, right? I mean, by all means, if that's what you want to do, then go and do it. But just know that it's going to feel less considerate if you do that, right? So number 3, remind them of your accomplishments with them so far. You know, and again, you know, you could take Edward's model. I mean, if it's a small enough price increase, you know, if I'm going from 100 to 125, you probably don't need to go too deep into it. Really, I think it just depends. You guys all know your member base well enough. They also know you and how you demonstrate, and communicate. Edward, from what I've gathered from him so far, is a pretty straight shooter. So they probably expect Edward to be short and quick with his response, right? I'm a pretty long-winded guy. So I myself they probably would, if I was short with them, it would come off as out of character. And I would want to sit down and maybe just bullet point out some accomplishments and be like, hey, listen, here's what we've done so far, guys. Here's some things that we've done to change the gym over the last few years. We've added a fleet of assault bikes. We've added 5 class times. We've had over 30 members lose 20 pounds or more, whatever, things you want, results and features and benefits that have been added that were things they never paid for when they signed up back then anyways, right? Like between now and where they are, what's changed, right? What are the accomplishments so far? We're in a bigger space. We've hired 2 staff members, right? We have someone at the front desk to help us keep organized, right? These are all accomplishments and things you've achieved so far by having grown the business, right? And sometimes laying those things out and saying, hey, here's what we've added on, just so you guys, just as a friendly reminder. It's going to do 2 things, right? It's going to justify, but it's also going to say, hey, like they're naturally going to associate an increased cost of doing business. And they're going to say, yeah, like if I were him, I'd probably need to raise prices too, right? Number 4, tell them how raising your rates will benefit them. Share the plan and the roadmap, how you plan to improve experience offering higher talented coaches and events, right? Sometimes where I've seen frustration between a community and the gym owner sometimes is the gym owners doesn't really ever demonstrate having their shit together. They have no plan, they have no roadmap. And because there's been no roadmap thus far, now they want, now you want them to pay more. And, the first thing they're thinking is like, well, okay, yeah, I'd be cool with it, but how are you going to spend my money, right? Like, how are you going to spend my money? And again, it probably depends on your relationship with your client base and how you typically are and what's in and out of character for you and how you typically demonstrate and communicate with them. But, if the goal is to improve experience and offering and higher talent coaches and events, and show them that plan, right? Like lay it out in more detail of like, hey, by June of 2022, we plan to actually hire 2 staff members, 2 professional coaches to help lead you guys and give you guys an even better experience, because that's really, really important. You guys are getting the best coaching possible, right? We're going to put on more events this year. Here's our plan for events and what we have on the schedule tentatively, of course, everything's tentative, right? Here's a plan to enhance our offer. We're going to offer more class times, right? You plan to improve experience, investing in different program. Maybe you're going to invest in certain programming or new equipment, whatever those things are. Like sharing those things are all part of the rate increase letter you might send to them, right? And then number 5, accept it and be confident, right? Like keep an eye on the big picture. At the end of the day, like all this should correlate with like your bigger business plan and your goals 2-3 years from now and how the business is going to be profitable. That's in how you're going to pay yourself and make it exciting to want to keep running this business and keep doing this. Cause like Mike said previously, like the gym that goes out of business is not good for anybody. Right. So at the end of the day, if you burn out because you're not making enough money and you're watching all your friends and family take base level jobs for 70, 80, 100K a year, meanwhile you're struggling to make 30, you're not going to want to keep doing this for very long. You're going to start to question what you're doing with your time and how it's affecting what you can do, with your family and friends and life and whatever. And you're gonna want to do something else if you don't make the adjustment, right? Like even if you feel good about it now, it's going to change. I just know because I remember I've done it with like every business I started except for the more recent businesses because I've matured. But when I was younger or just less experienced, like every business was like, I'm going to, run this super lean business and do all the day-to-day work and work in the business and on the business. And I'm going to, for that reason, I'm able to keep the costs low and keep the overheads low and get by on just a few clients. And then, after 2-3 years of doing that, you're like, man, I don't really want to coach all the classes anymore. Like I used to love coaching all day, but now I don't love coaching all day. Now I love coaching like 3 times a week because it's not about quantity, it's about quality. I want to give the best experience possible, not just, be not when I have to do so many other things in the business, like be the marketer and the communicator and the tribe leader. I want to be able to spread that energy around. So yeah, guys, and accepting it and be confident, knowing that like this is part of the big plan and keeping an eye on the big picture is important, right? Because you might get 1 or 2 or 3 or even 10 people that are upset about it, and now you got to sort through those things. You might get a couple that cancel, and then people you thought cared, and then they cancel, and it just gets you emotional, and you lose track, and now you want to undo what you did. Just keep your eye on the big picture and move forward, right? Like keep it focused on your members, keep it more when you put these things out, make it more about what's beneficial to them than on yourself. And of course, sometimes letting them in on what's going on in your life can be helpful if you think it's beneficial for them to know that, like, hey, yeah, like we've got an increased cost of doing business. It's been harder to make a profit, and as you guys know, we run a business here and it's not a charity, and I'd love to keep the costs the same, but I really just can't. Costs have to go up. I hope you guys understand. Because things cost more, our rent costs more, our utilities cost more, certain subscriptions and memberships that we have to run this business on cost more. So it's we have to pass some of that cost of doing business on to you as the customer, because we don't make enough margin to absorb that. Anybody with the right mind and good reasoning would agree with you and be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, and they're gonna probably support you more than anything on that. And then those tiny little side conversations that go on in your gym of, did you hear he's raising prices? It's going to make a difference how transparent you are and how people respond to that when they hear someone else being maybe venomous about it. You're gonna have more people be like, hey, I understand. You know what I mean? Like, why are you not being understanding? I understand why he's got to raise prices. I'm cool with it. So anyways, yeah, that's it, guys. And then the last thing you can always throw in, when you put out a letter to your clients explaining all this and the cost got to go up, I always like throwing in this little line at the end that is like, hey, if you're not going to be able to put food on your table because we raise the rates, if you're not gonna be able to put your food on your table because of that, then please reach out to me and we'll find a way to make this work out. It's the most ridiculous statement, right? But it's like, because no one paying for a CrossFit gym membership, even if they're paying $100 a month before, paying a little less before, is like having trouble putting food on their plates, right? It really puts things into perspective when it's like, when you say something like that. But if there is that one or two person that really is just stringing it together on the last dollar, and this has I don't know, it's a psychological component to their life of being at your gym. So they're really stringing along, and then sure, they'll come out, they'll reach out to you, and you can work it out for that one person. You keep that person on the current plan for a little longer and say, hey, I can keep this on for you for another 6 months, but it's gonna have to go up, right? You can have those one-on-one conversations where they're needed, right? But yeah, my experience, these things always tend to go pretty well in regards to raising prices. They never go as bad in your mind as you thought they would. Okay, so let's talk a little math here, guys, just to wrap this up. Just want to kind of zoom out and show you kind of how this affects things. So increasing rate on existing clients, right? If we increase the rate on existing clients, 100 clients, I'm just thinking like a small gym that's way underpriced. I'm guessing most of you guys might have more or less clients than this, might charge more or less than this, but I'm just going to pick kind of an example I've heard a few times. I've got 100 clients and I'm charging $125 a month. That's $12,500 a month in revenue I'm generating off those existing clients and off of our core program. And then right here, if I were to adjust the price just up about 18% to 145, 15% maybe, 145, that increases the monthly revenue to 14,500, which increases the annual revenue to 174,000, which is a $24,000 per year increase, or a 20% increase in revenue. If I were to do that same thing and grow the gym, go to 125 clients at $145 a month, up from 125 with this use case, we go to $17,500 a month of revenue, or $208,800, which is a $68,800 per year increase, 45% increase in bottom line revenue. So you can see how these small adjustments, small increases in prices can really add up some big gains. Because for most of you guys with the gym of, like, say this size, for example, or just go by percentage with whatever size your gym is, that's a pretty substantial difference in what your gym's cash flowing. Some of that's probably going to funnel through to your pockets and make you a little bit happier about running this business. All right. And then we can talk about, that's just your month over month or year over year rate increase, how that affects the bottom line cash flow, right? And then let's talk about member lifetime value. 18 months at $125 a month is $2,250 per client lifetime value. If we were just to adjust that $20 a month up from 125 to 145, we'd go to 2610. We'd have a $360 a month average client value. That's a 16% increase in value. And then what if some cancel, right? Like, so let's just extrapolate that out. Say we have 100 members at $125 a month, and that's $12,500 a month, $150,000 a year in revenue we're generating. If we were to have a 10% loss, which is not going to happen, because as we've already discussed in this call, and a few people have given examples of, you're probably only going to lose like 1% of your members or 2% of your members, if that. If you do all this the right way and it's in your business is in a position where the prices need to go up, you're probably not going to lose 10%. You're probably going to lose a couple percent, if any at all. But say you do lose 10%. Let's go ahead and just go with worst case scenario. 10% of my members leave. That would be a bad scenario for a lot of gyms. Let's just think about this for a second. So say we go up from $125 to $145 a month, but we lose 10 of our 100 members and we go down to 90 members. Sure, it's going to feel crappy because we have people let leave that we thought liked us or supported us. But at the end of the day, from a business perspective, I mean, we're actually up in the very next month in revenue from $12,500 up to $13,050 a month. We're actually netting another $6,600 a year, a 5% gain. So we lose 10% of our members, but we actually gain 5% per year in revenue. So there's some logical justification for you guys. So we covered the emotional, we covered the logical. It all makes sense, right? Not saying you have to do this. This is just the topic we're on for the week. If you do feel though that your business is in a position where the prices need to go up, then this video here we've kind of covered, I think, most of the bases and the reasoning and justification why and how to do it. So let's go ahead and open it up, guys, for some Q&A questions. Anybody want to add anything to this? Anybody done this recently and want to share some use cases? Or if you guys want, just go ahead and ask questions about whatever else you might be here for as well. This is your guys' time.
I'll say something to Sean specifically. You mentioned it about mainly towards your members that supported you through COVID, right? That was your holdback, not on everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just crunching the numbers while Will was going through all that. It's probably about 42 people. Handful of people that are 79, which was our pre-sale rate, and then the rest are like 190 or 99 to 119. And so, I mean, my thought, and like I would say, we might lose 2 or 3 of them, but I think that if we message it in a way of, hey, we did the best we could to continue to honor your rate previously, with the cost of doing business and changes in our current state of of the world. We're doing a $20 increase across the board for you guys. And then, a year from now we'll go because it'll still keep them well below what we are now. I just, feel great because I would love to just leave them where they're at. But at the same time, we were like, almost 500 members when we shut down, and we're like 200 now. So, and of those 200, about 40 of them are still, under what our current rate is. So
I just wanted to play devil's advocate. I know everyone's all for raising rates. I've raised mine 3 times this year. But I have a few OG people that still pay their old rate. I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. We shut down for a month, and I feel indebted to those people that paid 170, 180, 150 a month while I was gone. Like if you had people pay, whatever your full membership was the whole time you were shut down, it's 40 of them. 40 times $20 is $800. You're at 200 members. That's up to you. Like I said this last week, we turn over so much that due to like college students and people that flip flop in the area, my membership base turns over mostly year over year by 100 plus. So my price increase will be effective on almost everybody within a year. It's already shot my ACV up by $30 just by upping the prices 6 months ago. So it's kind of like you got to do what's right for your business and what's right for your conscience too. If you plan to build back to 500 and if you have 160 members at the new rate, I mean, there is something to be said for goodwill being bought for people that paid you. I don't know if your rate was at average 100 and they paid you for 18 months, they gave you $1,800. Do you really need their 20 from those 40 when you're on your way back to 500? I don't know. I can't answer that. But as far as everybody else, hell yeah, raise it. Like everyone new, come in, and then you have to do what your conscience and what whatever you feel for those people. I just wanted to play devil's advocate. Like, how much do you need that $20? That's all. I'm not saying what I would do either way. I just that's
Awesome. Good there, Sean? Yeah. Okay, cool. Your mic's kind of going in and out there, Sean. Cool. Yeah, no, yeah, that's definitely a tougher situation, right? The coming out of COVID thing, and then, obviously, still sharing the full extent of the situation with someone, even if they did that, still
Hey,
can
Will.
just. What's up?
Hey, sorry, I'm late to the call, but here, that's better late than never. I missed when you started out. Was there any discount on, and it's been in your other series too, for anybody else that missed it? Was there a lot of discussion on how to set rates to begin with?
You're breaking up pretty
I
bad.
think a
Drew.
lot of us got into this business without doing that.
Yeah, you're breaking up pretty bad. It says your connection's weak.
You're weak.
Is. I'm not perfect every day, bro. Come on. I try.
I don't know how to fix that. Is this how's that better or what?
No, not really. If you want to type it,
I
I
don't
can
get-
kind of read it off.
Let me get out and get back. Y'all keep
Okay.
going.
Awesome. Well, Drew just reconnecting there, guys. If anybody else wants to jump in, feel free, raise hands or type in the chat box. I'm just gonna go through the chat box, make sure we don't have anything here. Let's see. Looks like you guys are sharing reviews. That's awesome. Yeah, you guys should do that. That's awesome. Farm reviews from each other. Help each other out. Mike, do you have a question, Mike Morganti?
This has been an ongoing conversation with me and my partner about raising rates, and I kind of want to stay where we are. We're at 185 right now a month. So with the two other gyms on Staten Island, we're all at 185. We do have the biggest facility, and we definitely over deliver on all of our events. But now our rent is going up. It crept up a little bit this month, and now next month we're at 7,000 a month in rent. So now I'm like, all right, we got to do something. I have a couple of people, maybe 10 to 12 people that are grandfathered in at 160 from when we bought the gym. And then I have like a couple of my buddies that pay 150, and they're complaining about that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And by raising it $5, $10, is that going to do anything for us? Not really.
I probably wouldn't rip that Band-Aid off unless it was going to be for like a jump that's actually going to be like meaningful for you,
Yeah. Then you're looking at over $200 a month.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you could do it
value
incrementally.
there.
You could go to $200 a month and maybe you do it in two phases over the next year and just roll that out in your announcement that like, hey, we're going to adjust here and then we're going to adjust here. And that
Yeah.
won't really rattle too many cages. It's pretty, the nice thing about a small jump like that is it is subtle, but by the end of the year, you'll be there and you will have offset probably the difference in your rent.
Yeah, we
You
were
know?
talking about going up maybe $10 to
Yeah.
195. Which
Yeah.
I think
You're saying across the board though, and not just that 40 members or whatever you're talking about doing it across the board with the $10.
across the board, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, so how many members do you have?
About 200.
200. Okay, so that's a pretty couple $1,000 a month. So that would offset that increase in rent plus a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know how much.
It's a huge increase because we
What's
were
that?
paying $52.45.
Oh wow, yeah. So you need that couple thousand. Yeah, so you're gonna pretty much wash it out. Yeah, man. I mean, I would do it. I mean, that's pretty subtle. I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with that, especially if you say, "Hey guys, here's what's going on. Rent's increased." And we're not really asking you guys to take profit over and above that. We just need to offset the cost of doing business because, as you guys know, things are going up in costs over time, and we're not immune to that as a business. I think everybody else is gonna be like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a part of the Staten Island people are all about their money, so I'm sure they'll understand. I don't think it's every person I've ever met for Staten Island has no problem asking you for money, so I don't think they'll have a problem paying
Yeah.
for it either. Maybe
Now
not.
they're asking for air runners now.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
I don't think that'll be a big deal to ask that, man. I'd say go for it. I mean, unless anybody else here has a good reason for not to, I kind of
Like
just
$10 is not
use the
gonna.
information I gave you. I think if you approach it that way, I don't think there's any, I don't think there's any reason why someone would argue. Good stuff. Drew, you jump back in. See how your connection is this time, man.
Any better? How about now?
Yeah, that is better. Yeah.
Yay. Turn it off, turn it back on again. The old IT fix. So I guess my comment was I missed some of this in the other lead calls leading up to this was, you got to look at what was your due diligence in setting your rates originally. Most of us, we did that very naively with what the market says we should do based on our actual budgets, or, definitely not factoring in our salary. So if you've done your due diligence on what your rates need to go up to, you're going to have a lot more buy-in in doing it. And I would just recommend that you go higher than you are comfortable on rate rates to avoid having to do it multiple times, because that's when it's going to look a little bit more, disingenuous. How much vision do you have that you're having to constantly raise rates? That's first and foremost. Like for us, we took COVID as a great time to simplify all of our offerings. We don't do 6 months, 12-month commitments. We do everything month to month. Everybody gets access to the same place, same equipment, same coaching. So setting your rates and being confident what you're offering is obviously number one. I've done it over the past where we've tiered the rate raise for members that have been with us for a while. There's a million different ways to make you feel comfortable about raising the rates. But one thing I pitch to my members is, just because it's the way we've done it in the past is not a good enough reason to keep doing it, especially if that's causing us to head into a direction we're not going to be able to be sustainable. And using your genuine, it's a lot better. Something like Will said, make you sellable to conversations one-on-one. Something I started implementing this last month was, I've got a sign-up calendar at the gym for just coffee with coach. Once a week, I pick time in a place. Anybody can come talk to me about anything. And that's been really great for just general life in the gym. So it'd be a good time to maybe throw that in while you're doing these rate raises. I'm not sure how much this you've already covered, so I don't know how helpful that is, but I've done it 3 times. I should have done it way sooner than I did the first time. The second time, I should have raised it more. So I know it's not easy, but it's something that everybody knows has to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that comes down to like, I think when I don't know if you're on for this part, Drew, but when you do your calculations of your pricing and you sit down and work in all your costs of doing business, like not basing them off of your current situation, basing them off of like
your competition.
Yeah, or your competition. Yeah, basing it off like what your future hard costs are going to be, so you don't have to adjust rates more than once every 2 or 3 years, right? I think it's normal to assume you'll probably have to adjust rates no matter what every 2 or 3 years because of new costs doing business, but you should be able to foreshadow most of that, right?
Like you mentioned, everybody knows cost of everything is up right now. There's no reason for people to think we would be immune to that. So if this is something you've been willing to do it, although it looks like a terrible time to do it, it's the time because you can actually pass a lot of the time off on external forces that may not have been there previous years. So I think that's, it's never been a good time. Plus the beginning of the year is right around the corner. January 1, everybody expects new year, new changes. So I'd lean heavy into that as well.
Yeah. I mean, one of the simplest ways you can break it down for people is, like I was just looking while you're talking there, Drew, is like, a rogue barbell. What would they call the original rogue bar? I think it was just called the rogue bar. The rogue barbell, like the original Rogue 1.0 barbell back 10 years ago was like $165 to order it from Rogue. It's now, if you want a Rogue, I don't think they make the original Rogue bar anymore. I think they call it the Ohio bar now. It's a $320 barbell. If you want a cheaper barbell, you can buy the Rogue Echo barbell, which is not near as good of a barbell. It uses cheaper steel, doesn't have the same knurling. It's not going to feel as good as your hands, and it's still $265, right? So you could break it down for people like, hey guys, like, if we got to replace a barbell this next year, it's going to cost us twice as much as it did back when we stocked this gym, right? Buying a medicine, buying your books involved.
But enough of the examples is more than it. I mean, you're right. We don't show our books, but we can have those conversations for sure. And I think most reasonable people will see it. And if they don't see it, they were probably going to leave you anyways.
Right.
Or later, there's some other, they're using this as an excuse to leave when they already did months ago. They didn't like being there.
Yeah.
It's even the intangibles that they, like what Will was saying, like obviously equipment and everything, cleaning materials, everything's got more expensive, but like I'm in Massachusetts and workman's comp went from 2 point something % up to 8% this year. So it was great. So they helped us out through the pandemic, and then small businesses are now paying for the help that they got, I guess. So like it's things like that nobody would think of, but that's a huge, that rate went up almost, 4 times. It's ridiculous,
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah. And I don't see that, it's like they always say, like anything you ask the government to do, they're going to find a way to tax you back for it in the future, right? That's
Absolutely.
like the truth of it. And that's not like, I don't care what side of the fence someone might swing from. That's just, we all know that, because you can like look back through history of like every single thing that never had to ask the government to do. They're going to find a way to pay for it one time after another. And so like, we got to be prepared for that as business owners too, because I don't think we're done with it either, right? Like,
No.
we're probably through the worst of it, but there's going to be increased rates, on things in the next coming years. And that's going to affect everybody, whether you own a gym or whether you have a job or whatever. Like, it's all going to trickle down. People that pay rent are going to pay more for rent. As a result, what minimum wage has to go up, and as a result, wages as a whole are going to go up. It's just trickle down economics, right? It's how it works. Really good stuff, guys. So we got to wrap up in the next 10, 15 minutes. I just want to make sure I get that warning shot out there to you guys, but this is your guys for whatever you might be here for. If I told you to ask a question at a certain time, that's a certain thing, then, pipe up and let's ask that question, get it out there, get that conversation going. Otherwise, if if it goes crickets, we'll wrap it up for the day, because we all got work we can go in and do. Let's see. Boz says, how would you set up a retargeting campaign with testimonial videos? Yeah, I mean, retargeting. I would build. Yeah, so that's a good question. We probably would need to, in 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know if we can get deep enough on that. I mean, Boz, you know how to set up a retargeting campaign per the trainings, right?
Yeah, I have a retargeting campaign. I was just curious if you do anything different with a testimonial, like to add multiple videos and split it up between genders. I went back in there. I've had the same video in my retargeting campaign for a few months now. And I just wanted to put something new in there. I just did it, I didn't know if you have I know the scripted video that had been used for retargeting, and I know I've used other stuff. I just have probably close to 50 testimonial videos that were in circulation for like a month or something, looking to get them back in circulation.
Yeah, I would. I think testimonial videos are fantastic for retargeting. And it's definitely going to be like a subtle, they're just, if anything, they're another jab, like, they're not, I'd say for testimonial campaigns, they're great to have. I think for where you're at, you're not necessarily someone who's needing to drive 30 members tomorrow. So if you just want to like nurture that steady flow of people that you're getting jabs in on, that jab, right hook kind of marketing, where you're just kind of consistently dripping out stuff and always engaging people, then I think testimonials are awesome. Yeah, I would keep it simple. I would just same retargeting campaign for anybody that's visited a website or a funnel or landed on anything of yours. They're getting a follow-up Facebook ad with testimonials. I'd probably segment based on audio, gender, and then if you I don't know how many you're going to run, but you can also segment it based on age too. Do a retargeting ad from people from 25 to 32ish, and then do a retargeting ad for people from 32 to 40. Just the different pockets of life, I guess you could say. So that way, the testimonial video they're getting is from someone in a similar walk. Most people in their 20s are going to probably want a testimonial video from someone who kind of looks and is mentioning things that are similar to them, versus like people in their 30s with kids versus people in their 40s and 50s and beyond. If you can, but again, retargeting, usually you're not running a high budget, so it's hard to segment too many audiences, because now you're running, 5 retargeting ads for, men, and then 5 for women for 5 different age groups. Maybe do some though, but I wouldn't get carried away with it. But I would keep it simple. I would take the video, put the video in there, have the top of it be, review from a CrossFit diehard member, and then literally like a quote excerpt from it, like 1 or 2 sentences, and then something maybe pointing down saying, watch below to hear, Nancy's story, and then a call to action. I'd keep it pretty simple, an ad like that's not going to be like, a game changer. It'll probably just be another, like a jab, a really good jab. But if you're going to spend that money either way, I would definitely do it. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Let's see. Pause. Have you set up an ad campaign? Chris, let's see. Chris says, "Can I take a look at my ad campaign to make sure I'm firing correctly? Video preview shows on desktop, but not on iPhone." Okay, cool. Let's see. Awesome. Before we get into that, Chris, I see Matthew Barksdale. I want to say, is he still on the call with us? Matt, you'd asked me a question. I mentioned this would be a good place to ask that. Okay, cool. What was your question, man?
Yeah, it's I've typed it in as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought okay.
We're looking to open February 1st, and we're just in a lull here trying to keep people as a gym closed. I stepped away and we're opening a different one pretty close. And I'm just wondering what fun things people offered when they first opened. We're doing a founders membership for the people who were originally at the previous gym. They're very long term. One's 2 years, one's 3 years, and one's 10 years. Like the 10 years one is like $10,000, by the way. And then we're also considering doing like a first 50. The first 50 people that sign up, they'll be around 185 or 195 per month, and they'll get a lot of the perks that other people won't get past that 50, as in like access to open gym will most likely be a separate price for us. And in the founder stuff, we have like 5% on merchandise for life, one piece of merchandise per year, and a bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, I like that. Like a little bit of like it doesn't sound like I mean, the prices sound like you're, not necessarily trying to sell a cheap gym membership. I mean, you're up at 189 or so. I mean, in most of the country, that's a pretty solid rate to be charging. So just stacking on some value adds, I think, like you said, like, first 50, you'll get open gym access, something that really doesn't cost you anything, right? It doesn't cost you anything, and they'll get access to, so you're not having to discount anything. Instead, you're adding value. I'm a bigger fan of adding value than discounting something for founding members, right? But no, I'd love to open that up for everybody. You guys have all opened gyms and done it the right and wrong. Some of you guys have done it the wrong way, admittedly, and some of you guys have done it ways that you're really happy with. Some of you guys have perspective on how you would do it differently. I'd love to open up the floor for you guys. Matt's come to us because they were Matt. You guys were like, I mean, you're a manager, a partner. What was the relationship with the previous gym?
Yeah, I can make the story short. I had been at the gym for over 10 years, been managing it for about 5. We were doing really well. I did not want to be under anyone's control anymore. So we had an opportunity. The owner was kind of wanting to step away. We couldn't come to an agreement that I was comfortable with. So I decided to take an early vacation. Lo and behold, he couldn't find anybody else to move forward. So he closed. About after my weekend vacation, one of the previous coaches came to me and asked me if I still wanted to do anything. I said yes. We actually have a place that's like, you could throw a baseball and hit the new place from the old place. So I have a lot of interest. Had about 50 plus people in a presentation I did of previous members who were just interested in what we're going to do. I came up with the founders just because I respect and love these people a lot. So we want to do something special for them. But that's kind of where we are now, and just trying to close to be able to open February 1st.
Hey, Matt. One of the things we did when we ran our founders offers was we would run an option where we would give them like a golden ticket or a free 30-day trial for like up to 3 people. And it just helped you get them to get you additional traction in your grand opening and your go and stuff. And it's just another great way to leverage your existing fans and to help grow your business as you move into your new space and create that enthusiasm around it.
Perfect. Yeah, we have in the list, not quite that many days, but like the gold is like 15 free bring a friend days a year. The silvers, I think 10, and the bronze is low enough to where just having the bronze is good enough for everybody.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I like what you're going with that founding members offer. I'll add that myself though, Matt. Like I like the idea of not, because that's definitely a trap some gym owners get caught in, is they do that founding members thing and they give away some crazy discounted rate. And then they end up regretting it, like not too far down the road, having to undo all that. So I think starting strong, and instead of creating some value adds, I like the idea of adding on the open gym and doing a golden ticket thing as a founding member that like you only get by being a founding member. Some other things like that, that I think are great for adding value. Like you said, maybe they get a 5% discount on merchandise as it comes out. That's cool too. You can do something special for founding members. Say, we're going to throw you guys a party, since you guys are our initial founding members and we want to start this thing strong, and be like, you guys, that get signed up with us as founding members, we're going to be doing a big kickoff thing to kind of really just help forge this community the right way from the start, and give you guys all an opportunity to create a unique bond and set the foundation for the future members. Right now, they feel like they're part of something. Right. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, we're doing that at least once a year. I have like more ideas of like quarterly meetings. I'm like a person who never, since I was little, shies away from people telling I'm wrong. Like, it may hurt my feelings, but I don't care. So we're planning on having meetings throughout the years to get their feedback. And I'm like super open, it's honest with people of like, yeah, that's not going to happen, or it is going to happen. None of that has ever bothered me, thankfully.
Sure. Cool. Does anybody else have anything for Matt?
Well, yeah, I guess my thoughts on, do you really think you need to offer that stuff? Or are people going to sign up anyway? Right.
To an extent, but these are people who I think almost, I would say it's like a deserve it. Plus we want to keep them there. And it's also starting up from nothing with a very, very big upfront bill. So I don't want to crash and burn over the course of 1 year just because I'm not at least a little flexible, just in case. Because I'm in Dallas. We have a robust amount of gyms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have a 24-hour gym that's going into the old location. Within a 3-mile radius, we probably have 7-8 gyms, easy.
Mm-hmm. And you have an easy way of keeping track. Like, if you give one of those founding members, like, you can bring in a friend 10 times a month or whatever the heck it is, you have an easy way to keep track of that. So it's not a lot of overhead for you.
Yeah, I think in Zen Planner, I've used it for 10 plus years. We're probably going to go back into that. I haven't used Push Press, but I have a call with them. I have done stuff like that before, so it's possible. Yes.
Sweet.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah, excellent. Is that good, Matt? You get some ideas?
Sure. Yeah. If y'all have anything else, wherever we post this stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Trisha had asked, 30-day notice cancellations. Yeah, I think that's kind of a standard these days. If you're not doing contracts, that you should at least have one term in there, and that's that you do a 30-day notice. I don't know if that's necessarily what you're asking, but if it is, then yeah, you should definitely have a 30-day notice in there. It's really hard to run a membership-based business, recurring membership-based business, without at least 30 days of receivables, because people get able to cancel the day before when maybe you were projecting certain revenue coming in and you're trying to plan to invest in the business or reinvest in the business. It's really not a good position to be in if you don't at least have that. Is that kind of what you're asking, Trisha? Yeah. Okay. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, I guess so. Really, if somebody even signs up for 1 month, you basically have them for 2 months at least.
Yeah, usually most, I think most gyms will give that first 30 days as kind of like a trial period. But once they go into ongoing renewal, then you're kind of like, okay, now you're in the 30-day term. So at least that's how we did it. We would make it, they did their on-ramp and then they got their first month. And that was kind of like their period to where if they wanted to be exempt from any, contracts or terms, then that was their opportunity to make sure that they wanted to continue. But once they did, they were in, and they were either in a contract, or if they were month to month, there was a 30-day notice. That was just pretty simple terms we wrote into our agreements. I think it's pretty standard. Honestly, I think most anything that's month to month these days is usually, at least with like gyms and stuff like that, there's usually at least some sort of term in there for like a 30-day, minimum 30 days. Some gyms will want like 45 days or 60 days. I've seen as well with like some Globo gyms.
Yeah. I can't get my husband on board with it. I had a really hard time getting him on board with a price increase, and he does not like the idea of charging or making people have a 30-day notice. He's like, it takes you 5 seconds to get on the computer and cancel their membership. So why should we make them give you 30 days notice? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I wanted to hear it from the professionals on what I should tell him on that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely has more to do with, I mean, cash flow, right? Like a business operates on cash flow, and you guys are gonna have barbells break. You're gonna have wall balls that blow open. You're gonna have, all the things. You're gonna decide one month when you made some money that you want to go buy some assault bikes or some more rowers or whatever, and that's all going to be contingent on like next month us getting the same, at least pretty close to the same revenue we did this month, right? And if you didn't have something in place to at least ensure yourself you're going to get most of that, it's going to be really tough to make that decision, right? So it's just in the name of projecting. And I think most gyms probably should have contracts, but I know some gym owners are old school and don't want to do contracts. That's cool. If you don't, then at least have a 30-day clause in there to net yourself at least something. That way you can at least have some basic receivables to make decisions on. It's really just, that's really what it's about, not necessarily how much work it takes. It's that like, it's really hard to grow a business if you have people being able to cancel like literally up until the minute of their membership,
yeah. And do
It's
you think
about
that would
psychology.
also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think that also makes people a little more apt to go ahead and get a commitment, contract? We call them commitments. We have the month-to-month option, and then we also have contracts that we just call commitments because it sounds better.
We do the same thing. We call them agreements, not contracts, because technically if I wasn't going to go like hunt someone down and report them to collections or anything like that. We knew that like 98% of people were going to pay their contract through. And so we would have, 6 and 12-month agreements available. And that was, if they wanted to cancel at the end of their 6 months, they didn't have to give us notice because their, agreement was for 6 months, and it's going to auto renew. And if they don't want to auto renew, they can let us know, and then they could see their way out. But if they're going to go month to month, it was all for the same purposes though. 6-month agreement gives us the ability to say that with 98% certainty, I'm probably going to get all 6 months out of that are on 6-month agreements. And it's all in the name of like, being able to project, having some sense of security so you can make investments in the company because, I don't know, something were to happen, spook a bunch of your clients or a bunch of them you get together and decide they want to leave somewhere, and that happens next month and you had no idea, but you were at the same time, you just, wrote a check out for a bunch of barbells, that can capsize your business. Right. So,
Right.
Obviously that's an extreme scenario, but those things do happen. Those things happen to gyms. I've heard the stories. I've seen people do it. So it's just kind of protecting downside a little bit, trying to level those things out from happening and having too much impact on you. Yeah.
It's also psychological in the member and yourself, like, and knowing that not every member is you or your husband. Like, yeah, it's not about the work and how I don't know if you run the no sweat intro or how you present, or where your life cycle is in your gym too. Like if you just need bodies in the door because you're not making it, that's different. But once you are not living month to month and you have a little of a playroom, the story you tell the person, like they might expect to come in and Planet Fitness and leave and come whenever they want to do this. But like your whole thing should be, listen, this is a long game. It's not a short game. We don't want you here. If you're going to quit in 2 weeks, we don't want you here. I say, I don't, this is not the place for you. It's going to take you at least 2-3 months to get any kind of results, which is why we have the 3-month commitment. You're not, and you're not committing it really to me. You're committing to yourself that you're going to give this a 3-month shot because what we have here works. And this is all predicated on your brand, your Facebook branding, your Instagram branding, people knowing what they're coming into. Do they know you? Do you have a good track record? But if you do, and they're sitting in front of you and you're presenting them, like, you don't want to give them the option to leave in 2 weeks, right? Like those aren't the people that you want. So if they have that in their head, oh yeah, you can just leave whenever time you want. If you don't like us, try every gym out, do this and like that's 10 years old. That's CrossFit 10 years ago. Like if your core deliverables are really good and you have a great program, it will get them results if they stick with it. So again, assuming that you've done your due diligence and this isn't a problem member or whatnot, hopefully your filtration process is good. But most people, like, you're committing to you 3 months, not me. After the 3 months, we ask for a 30-day cancellation notice, right? Like, just so it eliminates in their mind the option to do it. Like they accept it. Like Will said, 98% of people are going to follow through with what they said. And then if not, you've told them during the intro, you told them when they were signing up, everyone has a 30-day cancellation. So if they decide to ghost you and then like that's on them, right? Like, because you've laid the foundation that this is not a 2-week program. I mean, unless you are running a 2-week program, that's different. But this is not a 6-week quick fix. Even if you're
Right.
running a challenge to get into it, you're laying the foundation to them that their fitness journey doesn't take days off. It doesn't take years off. Like, you need to be fit. I tell people, I don't want to help you in 2 weeks or 2 months. I want to help you that when your time is done here, 2, 3, 4 years, you know how to work out, you know how to eat properly, you have great habits. I paint the picture so far down the road that the thought of leaving in 2 weeks is just unthinkable. And that's what might be a differentiator for you if they go and they talk to 3 different gyms and they talk to you and it's like, wow, they talked about all this stuff. It wasn't really about what everyone else was talking about. You don't want to be better, right? You want to be different. So if you want to get that thought process of them leaving you right away out of there, it doesn't matter that it takes you 5 seconds to cancel their membership. If you can do that, before years ago, I had people send me a Facebook message, hey, I want to take this month off. And it's like 11:47 PM and their draw was at midnight. Like, that's not who we are anymore. We're not doing that. And you want to work with the kind of people that aren't going to do that to you. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, good stuff. Awesome. All right, guys. Chris, I know you had a message about a question with your Facebook ads. I'm actually going to message you separately to help you out with that, so I can just take a look at those. Because you've given me access to your account, and I'll help you out with that separately since we're able to get to that on this call. But you did show up on the call, so I appreciate it. So I'll make sure we take a look at those for you sometime today. I just got to run to another call. Kind of adjusting my schedule. So we moved back to Mondays 2 weeks ago. I had things on Mondays that should start clearing up here to allow us to go a little longer on this call. But it sounds like we're kind of winding down anyways. There was one last question from Karen, which I'll just answer real quick, which was, do you offer a discount to previous members that are coming in for the PR campaign? No, I would just, Karen, I would just give them like the 7 or 10 day free pass that you're offering them with the PR campaign. And then after that, they roll right into ongoing membership. And when they come in for that 7 to 10 day pass, sign them up for the membership right there. Don't give them that 7 to 10 day pass and have to chase them down for 7 or 10 days and offer them discounts to sign up. Just tell them when they come in for the free pass, here's how it works. You're going to get your 7-day free pass that I told you about on the text message. You're going to sign up for your membership option now at the end of your 7 or 10 day pass, whatever you're giving them. It's going to roll right in. If you don't want to stay, then you got to let me know by the end of the 7 or 10 days so I can cancel this out for you. What you'll find is that 8 or 9 out of 10 of them will just stay on. So you don't have to discount anything. Just they're already getting 7 or 10 days free to kind of retrial at the gym, even though they're former members. I would just, give them that. I think that's really all you need to do. I don't think you need to discount anything. Especially since I know me and you have had that conversation about discounts. I know you're heading the other direction. You definitely don't want to get yourself back in that, discount gym conversation.
Right. We just, our price increase goes into effect on January 1. And this one member in particular that came in, one former member that came in last week was one of our first 50 or whatever and then left. And now the price is much higher than it was when he left. And so he balked a little bit at that. And I just, I'm still wrapping my head around, we're going to be charging, which is probably very cheap for everybody else, but for us, $149 a month is like, for me, it seems like a lot, but I haven't had any negative feedback. I posted something in the Slack group earlier and Boz responded with some good information. So
Yeah.
I'm working on myself with that increase. That's the biggest hurdle, I think, is me. So
Yeah, that's why I address that too, is like we all have that, like, that self-doubt, or am I worth it, or will people pay it, or the imposter syndrome feelings. Not that you're an imposter. I mean, you should definitely have belief in yourself that you're worth it. Obviously just from the track record so far, you can stand on that. So go forward with it. If someone has a problem with that, then say, hey, sorry, it sounds like it's not a good fit, or whatever you want to say to them. If they have a problem with, if they want a discount or whatever, because they're a former member, be like, hey, these are the new rates. I mean, outside of that, if it's, just one guy, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good I don't know if it's a good thing to open up. I was almost going to say, like, maybe you offer him that first month, but I'm like, no, because then you're going to set the standard with this guy. And, I don't know, maybe he just pays for that 1 month and leaves. And it's like, okay, now we wasted our time. Right.
I'm afraid if I give that one guy a break, that I'm not going to stop. Like I know myself, and I know these people that I've sent these that we had in the campaign. I know many of them, and we still all live in the same, everybody lives within like a 2-mile radius. So we see each other all the time.
Yeah.
And I know that I've seen you out at dinner. I know that you can afford it. I just think that they got used to what they were getting before at that really low price. And
Yeah,
so
I
I
agree.
just have to be confident in myself. We've been open for almost 5 years, so we're doing something right, and it's time. I need to make that extra money
Yeah.
now.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, you paid your dues, and like I said, things are also enough to make it an easier ask than ever. Right, 5 years ago it would have been tougher to ask that money, but now with all the supporting things kind of going on in general outside of the gym, people are going to understand. Right, like it's working in your favor. It's easier to swim with the water than against it. And right now the water is going strongly in that direction on a lot of things, so shouldn't be a big deal. I wouldn't, yeah, for that same reason. I almost was going to say like, oh, if it's just one guy, maybe. If you think he's going to be good long term, but again, same thing. You got to know yourself, and that's where I am. I do the same thing where I'm like, yeah, sure, it would be nice to get that one guy, and maybe I bend my own rule once, but then now I'm kind of messing with my own psychology, and I'm not being confident. And how much could I cost myself by bending like that every single time I'm asked, right? If I don't stand
Right.
firm, I don't set a new standard for myself, right? So that's a big part of this, is setting that standard for yourself and what you're worth. Because once you get on top of that, you're on the other side of this, you're going to be really confident. You're going to be a lot better off. So no, I think, yeah, like I said, give him a 7 or 10 day pass from the PR campaign, and at the end he's going to go into it. And if he doesn't want to stay, then he won't stay. If he wants to stay, then he can pay what you're asking. That's
Okay.
how you do it. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
No problem. Mike said, just to cap it off, guys, Mike said, every time I bet to rule like that once, I then want to do it again, and my staff asked me every time. Yeah, it's a snowball effect, right? It's like, it definitely, it's how a snowflake turns into an avalanche, right? Just one little thing. So no, good stuff, guys. Really good call today. Good feedback. I appreciate you guys sharing as always. I think in the coming weeks calls, I won't have stuff piggybacked right off of this, so I'll be able to go a little longer with you guys and open up more Q&A. But thanks for showing up today, guys. Awesome call. Next week, we're going to do the next week of the series, which is going to be adding ticket items and increasing the number of transactions. We're going to get into some examples of that. We're all going to Q&A and share, and I'm going to do some teachable stuff on that. So hope you guys all turn up. Have an awesome rest of the week ahead. Let's crush it. Hope a few of you guys can get on next week's call and raise your hand and tell me you guys had an amazing week this week and had a big win that you can share with everybody. You guys have an awesome day. See you later.